Have you ever looked at your life and thought, how did I end up here? Maybe you have a clear picture of how you want your life to be, or maybe not, but you know, this isn't it. But every time you try to change, you feel you're stuck in a loop, and your goals and dreams feel completely out of reach. What you want is a fresh start. You want to feel different in your own skin. You want to wake up in the morning excited about your day and about your life. You are ready to reinvent yourself. But here's the thing. You cannot get the things you want in life if those things don't match the person you believe you are. Welcome to my channel. My name is Scarlett, and I help people reinvent themselves and create the life they want. Most people start at the wrong place. They try to reinvent themselves by changing what they do. They set goals, they force new habits, buy productivity apps, and for a little while, it does seem to work. But then the motivation fades, and before long, they're back where they started. The truth is, action alone doesn't create real change, at least not lasting change or the kind of big change you're craving. Because your actions always follow who you believe you are. If your identity, how you see yourself, doesn't change, nothing else sticks. That's why the first step in reinventing yourself isn't what most people think. It is not about forcing yourself to try harder or map out a 100-day challenge. The first step is to look honestly at who you are right now and decide who you want to become. So if you're ready to finally become everything you've always wanted, then grab a notebook and a pen and let's do this. I want you to write down a list of things you like about yourself and your life and a list of things you don't like. I also want you to write a list of all the things you want to become, achieve, or get in your life. Now, hear me out because this is important. This is not an opportunity to beat yourself up because you feel you're behind in life or anything like that. You just need a snapshot of your life right now so you can have the full picture of what's going well and what isn't, what you want to keep and what needs to change. You can't start moving towards something new if you don't even know what that new thing is, right? If you don't know where you're going, you don't know who you need to become to get there. So all you have to do is this. Sit down and ask yourself a few simple questions like, what about my life do I actually like? What feels right for me? What excites me? What about my life do I not like? What feels wrong or heavy or just not like me anymore? And most importantly, who do I want to become? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to have? Without this clarity, all the tips and steps in the world won't get you very far. You will just keep looping back to the identity you've been living in. But when you have this clarity, every small change you make has a target. It's pointing you toward who you've decided to become. So let me explain why identity is so important. Why does identity matter more than action? Here's how it works. Your identity is a filter. Everything you do, everything you achieve, everything you see as important or unimportant, good or bad, has to pass through it. If something doesn't fit the person you believe you are, your brain will find a way to reject it. Think about it. If you believe you're just not disciplined, you can buy the best planner and fill it with schedules, but you'll struggle to follow it. If you believe you're not confident, you can practice conversation starters, but the second you walk into a room, you'll shrink back. If you believe you're bad with money, you can make a budget, but part of you will always sabotage it because deep down you know, that is not who I am. That's the kind of thing people who are good at managing money do. So even if you manage to stick to a budget for a while, soon you will slip back to your old habits because that is who you are. It's not because you're weak or lazy. It's because your brain constantly works to keep you consistent with who you believe you are. Psychologists call this the self-fulfilling prophecy. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity, the brain wiring itself based on repetition. But the idea is simple. Your thoughts about yourself create paths in your brain, and your brain makes sure your actions keep you inside those paths. That is why identity change is the real key to all the things you want. Change the filter, and suddenly the things that once felt impossible become second nature, because they are in line with who you believe you are. So they are the natural, automatic choice. Once you've done your life review and you know who you want to become, you have to stop identifying as someone who is trying. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, puts it perfectly. He says the goal isn't to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. Hear the difference? One is about checking off a box. The other is about identity. When you decide you're a runner, lacing up your shoes and going for a jog isn't a battle anymore. It's just what you do because it matches who you are. And the same thing shows up in every area of life. Think about someone who decided to quit smoking. If they go to a party the same night they decided to quit smoking and a friend offers them a cigarette, they can respond in two different ways. They can say, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," which is the most common response. Or they can say, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." In both cases, the person just decided to quit smoking. The difference is that in the first scenario, when the person says, "I'm trying to quit," they still see themselves as a smoker and they're trying to become something else. And that is why most people struggle to change their habits. But with the second reply, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker," this is a new identity. The person decided to identify as a person who is not a smoker. And if you decide you're not a smoker, not smoking a cigarette is the natural action. You don't have to fight it. That brings us to the one thing that sabotages most people's efforts. Most people think reinvention means going from 0 to 100 overnight. You know how it goes. It's January the 1st and suddenly you're waking up at 4 a.m. and drinking green juice, running 5 miles, journaling, meditating, hitting the gym 3 times a week, eating clean, reading 2 books a week, doing a 12-step Korean face routine before breakfast and before going to bed. And by January the 7th, you're back in bed with Netflix and potato chips, wondering what just happened, your Korean skincare collecting dust. The truth is, your brain doesn't like sudden, overwhelming change. It fights it because change means danger to your brain. What works is small, consistent actions. Tiny things you can repeat every single day. And every time you do them, you're proving to yourself, "This is who I am now." Want to become healthier? Don't start with a 30-day crash diet. Start with drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning because it's healthy for you. And when you do it, tell yourself, "I'm a person who makes healthy choices." Want to be more social? Don't commit to going to 3 parties a week if they terrify you. Start with saying hello to 1 new person every day. Want to become fit? Don't commit to running 10 miles every morning if you were never a runner. Commit to 5 minutes of light jogging. Those tiny actions feel almost too small to matter. But those are the actions that matter the most because they start rewriting who you believe you are while being small enough to not register in your brain as a threat. If you commit to running for 5 minutes only every morning, it's small enough and quick enough for you to be able to stick to it for real. And when you do it every day, then you get to say you're a jogger or you're a person who exercises regularly. It becomes who you are. On the other hand, if you commit to running 10 miles every morning, you're unlikely to stick to it for longer than a week. Then you feel lazy or like a failure because you quit, and in the end, there is no identity change and no physical benefit for your effort. You still don't see yourself as a person who is fit, and by next January, you will have run way less than the person who committed to just 5 minutes every morning. Speaking of sticking to new habits that match your new identity, let me give you a little trick. One of the easiest ways to make your new identity stick is to connect new habits to things you already do. For example, if you want to start running, don't just say, "I'm going to run every morning." That is too vague, and the moment something unexpected happens or you're too stressed, you're going to forget you were supposed to go for a run. Instead, connect your new habit to a habit you already have. Right after I brush my teeth, I will put my shoes on and I will go for a jog. That tiny connection makes it automatic. You already brush your teeth every morning, right? You know when that happens, it's already part of your routine. Now the jog becomes part of that same routine, and it comes at a very specific time in that routine. It has its exact place in your schedule, and every time you do it, you're not just running, you're reinforcing, I am a runner. Another very powerful thing you can do when you want to reinvent yourself is to make your environment and your appearance reflect the person you've decided to be. Because whether you realize it or not, your surroundings are teaching your brain who you are every day. If your desk is covered in clutter, your brain gets the message, I'm messy, I'm behind, I can't focus. But if your space is clean and intentional, the message becomes, I'm organized, I'm in control. Things in my life are on track. The same goes for your appearance. Have you heard the phrase, dress for the job you want, not the job you have? This is exactly what you need to do when you want to reinvent yourself. If the person you decided you're going to be from now on dresses differently, carries themselves differently, has a different style, start making those changes now. It is very difficult to convince yourself that you're a whole different person and you can have a whole different life when everything around you looks the same, and when you look in the mirror, you see the old version of you. But when you look around you and your space reflects your new identity, and when you look in the mirror, the reflection looking back at you is a whole different person, then it's easy to convince your brain that you are a different person that has different habits, achieves different things, has the life they want. But there is another thing that is equally important and many people miss it. If you want to reinvent yourself, you can't keep dragging along everything that belongs to your old identity. You have to let go of what doesn't belong anymore so that you can replace it with what fits the new you. That might mean letting go of stories you've told yourself for years, like I've always been shy or I'm bad with money. It might mean dropping habits that don't belong anymore. And sometimes it even means creating distance from specific people who refuse to see you as the person you're becoming. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you should go and remove everyone who isn't 100% supportive of your dreams. When you have big dreams and goals, it is common for people who love you to want to ensure you're not unreasonably optimistic and with your head in the clouds because they don't want to see you hurt or disappointed. Those people mean well, and unless they're too persistent and don't give up trying to discuss the topic, even when you've made it clear you don't want to talk about it anymore, there is no reason to cut them out of your life. You can just temporarily spend less time with them or agree to talk about other things instead. But sometimes we have people in our lives we think are our friends, but don't actually have the best intentions. They may feel threatened if they see you changing or accomplishing things. And that is especially true with people we have bonded with over a common issue. These people may feel threatened when they see you changing when they haven't. They may act offended and act as if you told them you're better than them because you are achieving what they haven't yet. Or they may try to persuade you to give up by telling you that it's hopeless anyway, that's who you are and you should accept it, and things like that. In cases like that, it's time to evaluate if this person truly has a place in the life of the new you. If they aren't supportive of you and happy to see you achieving the things you want, and the only thing you had in common was complaining about things, and especially the things you're now changing in your life, those probably aren't the best people to surround yourself with. We become like the people we hang out with the most. So ask yourself, which of the people in my life match the new version of me and which don't belong at all anymore? Then limit the time you spend with the people who don't belong and look for people who are a good match to your new identity. People who have accomplished the things you want. People who embody the things you want to be. Spending time with these kinds of people will help you become the best version of you faster and more naturally, because they already embody who you want to be. They already have the habits you want to have. They already think and behave the way you want to be thinking and behaving. So they will naturally keep you on track and reinforce your new identity. This isn't about cutting people off for no reason or replacing all your friends because they're not good enough. It's about making space. Reinvention isn't just about adding things. It's also about releasing what no longer serves you to make space for the new you to emerge. But what if your brain keeps dragging up old beliefs, stories from your past, and perceptions of yourself that are dragging you back to your old identity? In my next video, I'll show you the brain's hidden system that decides what you believe and how to use it to your advantage so that it stops dragging you back to your old identity and helps you lock in your new identity instead.